So welcome to those people who are joining us live. We are going to talk about Blender. What does it do and who is it for? We've got here Robin Ruud, who is a 3D artist and the instructor of the new Bring Your Own Laptop course called Blender 3D Essentials. So we're going to go through some Q&A. So if you've got stuff in the live stream, ask us, but we've got some pre-made questions to get us started. So first question, what is Blender and what can I do with it?
Blender is a 3D software. You can make 3D things. Like typical design stuff, you have 2D layers on top of each other. In Blender, you get 3D models, and like you can make anything. You can make anything with it. It's crazy. Like when you watch a Hollywood movie, right? A lot of the things that you see, the images on the screen, are going to be 3D design. So you can make like super realistic stuff. In design, you can make a bunch of you can make 3D text. I actually saw, this is a fun example. I saw the other day someone had made a couple layers deep of 3D. So they'd made an illustration of like fruit, which they'd put on the label for a product, on a can. But the can was also rendered in 3D, right? So the can was rendered in 3D, and that image was put on a poster, which was a 3D mock-up as well. So it goes to show you how much it's used in design as well.
Awesome. And how much is Blender?
Free. It's free.
It can't be free. There's got to be a catch. Like there's a free trial, there's a free bit until you get to this first bit, then you got to pay the monthly fee.
No, it's 100% free. It started out as an open source project, and because it had so much potential, a bunch of these giant companies, you can go on the website and see who supports it, but I think it's like Google, you got Nvidia, you got Meta, a bunch of these just pour money into it, and that's what keeps it growing.
Wow. And say your course, you've just released your new course on Bring Your Laptop, and Bring Your Laptops for designers. Like, is Blender kind of used by graphic designers or mainly just 3D artists? Can designers use it?
No, of course. 3D artists, designers can use Blender as well. It's separate. There won't be a lot of transferable skills. Like you'll still be working with images. Your knowledge of JPEG and PNG files is still going to come in handy. Designers, however, are going to have to learn new tech as well. So like it is a separate profession, but like you can learn a lot of the basic stuff over just a few hours, and that's what the point of the course is, as you know, Dan. Like to get you up to speed to be able to make things in 3D like right away. And I think people will be surprised by how quickly you can actually get up to speed with it. Because like you saw a couple of the examples in the intro, everyone saw that, and like you can make all of those things within the first few hours.
That was going to be one of my questions. Like, how far into the course before you're like, I made something? Because that's always my when I'm teaching a course or I'm learning something, I want to get to that like I made something that wasn't, I don't know, right click, make object, like I made something from scratch. Like, so you reckon just a couple of hours into it, you can be doing 3D stuff?
I know, yeah. You start doing projects right away. As soon as like I've shown you around the interface, we go right into the projects because that's the fun part.
How does it compare to like other 3D software? Like there's a few different angles there. Like could you use it professionally? Like, where does it sit in the world of 3D? Is it kind of like, and am I going to use this professionally? Like where does it sit compared to some of the other ones?
It's growing. I would say a lot of people use it professionally now, at least like in design contexts. When I've worked in graphic design and branding and stuff, the typical tool was Blender. So that it's really growing there. What Blender has got to like improve to get into is like Hollywood stuff. That's nothing we have to worry about, right?
No, it's not what I want to do. I want to use it like I imagine I'm going to be using it as a kind of a co-pilot for stuff. I'm not going to become a full-time 3D person, but I want to have it as a skill that I'm not just scared of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I don't want to give the impression that it's like a lesser 3D software. Like it's a general 3D software, and that's the reason they don't use it in the huge Hollywood productions. They need specialized software, right?
Gotcha.
But among the general tools, Blender's my favorite one.
And it's free. It's amazing. Does it
I
play
know.
nice with like, like my skills are in like Photoshop and Illustrator. Can I make graphics to use in Blender projects?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. You can render out. What you make is you make images. That's what you export out of Blender,
Yep.
right? You can import images, vectors, all the things that you're used to. What you get out is an image or a video.
Can you make, is it primary 3D or can you kind of do 2D style? Like what kind of style? Like 3D has a kind of a look to it. Can you make it look, I don't know, a bit more sketchy or a bit more 2D, or is it primarily that kind of isometric look?
I don't know if you know how good of a question that is to ask about Blender. Blender is like kind of known for its 2D looks. So
Oh,
like
cool.
Blender has specialized tools for making those flat 2D illustration style images that no other 3D software has. Like it's super good at it.
Because that's like like I think 3D and you think this 3D that has a look to it. It has this hyper
I know.
realistic photo, not even photorealistic. It's kind of like beyond that. But you're like, I want to make it look like the stuff you see on Dribble. Where there's this kind of like it's quite illustrative, but you could tell it's 3D. It's all proportionally correct, and there's this kind of cool isometric looking things going on, and yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you can make any style you want. It's a super powerful software.
Cool. And how is like your course different from, say, other courses in 3D? Like how, yeah, what, maybe in just in Blender in general, like what's the differences on your course?
I'd say the main difference between this course and most of the other courses on Blender is that the themes. We focus on designer stuff rather than video game stuff, like orcs and castles, fighter jets. It's none of that.
But you could do those if you wanted to, yeah?
Exactly, you can do those. Like this is the first Blender course I know of that really focuses on what designers need for like products, for little mascots and illustrations, that kind of stuff.
So let's say I do After Effects. Is that something I can kind of mix in with Blender? Like do they work together, or are you meant to do it all in Blender, or can I use some of my, I don't know, Premiere Pro, After Effects skills as in combination?
No. No, of
That's
course
kind
you
of,
can. Yeah,
I was
no.
like,
You
oh
absolutely.
man, be
No, no,
gentle.
no.
No.
Yeah. No, they play really nicely together. I would say like you can't do 3D by itself. You need other software around it. You need, for example, to know things like Photoshop. Not to plug your website, but it's a place to learn
I got a good
Photoshop.
course.
And so you need to be able to make images to get those into 3D. You need to be able to process what you make in 3D. So doing like After Effects stuff, doing Premiere stuff on top of it, it plays super well. If you're into After Effects, actually, After Effects is great for VFX stuff, and so is Blender. You have motion tracking, you have different ways to work with footage in there. That's super exciting.
Does it make 3D type? That's like my first thing in any 3D software. I'm like, I want to make type. I want to lay it, spend way too long picking a font, lay it down, put some good lighting on it, add a material. Like, can Blender does it do type?
It's the quickest way to make something cool, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you sure can. And
Awesome.
that was my bread and butter working in graphic design. Like, just because you're right, like, just putting up 3D text and lighting it, it's just like it's instant and it looks pretty nice. So, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Even with a logo, right? Like taking a brand and kind of 3Ding it, that's always something that
Hmm.
it's always high up on my list of things to learn how to do in a bit of software.
Yeah.
And it seems really hard to learn at first. Like, there'll be people out there who are like, I opened it and then I kind of poked at it a little bit and then I left it. Why is it so hard to kind of pick up for people new to 3D?
Yeah, I get that. As I said earlier, when I got into 3D, I was kind of scared of it. And because it's different. It's different than the other tools that we use. You have different terminology. You don't work with pixels. You don't work with vector. You work with polygons. Like it's this entirely new thing. And the like, you need a bunch more. You need a bunch new tools to be able to define 3D shapes. Like you can't use these tools that you used to, so you got to learn a few new things. But I hope the course, like it's made to really guide you through it from the very start. So you're supposed to, it's made for someone who doesn't know anything. Right?
Awesome.
So I show you what all the buttons do, and pretty quickly you'll get an overview, you'll feel pretty comfortable, and obviously we're not going to look at all the advanced stuff at the beginning. We're going to get you comfortable with just, the basic tools so that you can make 3D shapes.
Like you're making stuff like, is there like existing models that you can use to kind of like in libraries stuff that you can drag into it and use as well?
Yes, that's very common. Adobe actually has a library for it. It's called Adobe Substance 3D,
Awesome.
where they have both models and also textures. Because you're going to have to need to use a lot of textures to make things look like plaster, like glass, stuff like that.
Okay, so textures include glass and shiny metals and all that sort of stuff, not just actual textures. It's the full thing, like the color and the transparency and all that stuff.
The full material, everything you need to define what a surface looks like.
Like, because it's a bring your own laptop course, I'm assuming that there will be an expert. Like, you can ask questions throughout the course as well if you get stuck.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the platform. Like there's a place where you can ask questions, and a teacher can explain whatever you're wondering about.
And why would a graphic designer learn Blender? Like, where in their workflow might it be? Like, I've got a just general interest in 3D because on its own,
Yeah.
it's cool. But like, where you've worked in the industry, where do 3D, where do design like studios like this feels like a good. If I've got my CV and I also can use Blender, it feels like a win. But like, where does that fit in? Where does a studio or somebody that might be hiring me or my own practice, where does it all fit into it?
That's a really good question. It's a surprisingly general tool. I kind of liken it to learning photography for graphic designers. Like if you're a designer and you learn photography, it's another skill that you have in the bag that you can mix in wherever it's useful. 3D is this kind of thing where I do a lot in 3D. So I'll just give you a couple of examples for things I'd use it for. Like for example, some logos are 3D logos, right? You want like a 3D effect. So making that in a dedicated 3D software will make sure that all your angles are correct. Just by default, it's going to be super easy to just put cubes around if you want a cube logo, stuff like that. It's also extremely useful in products. So that's probably where it plugs in for the most for a lot of design. You can make cans, you can make shoes, you can make all of these products and photograph them in a fake studio. You don't need to have the actual product. You can also do the design of the product before it's made. There's a bunch of things. And
Yeah, because I was
also,
working.
finally,
Sorry, you
yeah,
go.
yeah, just to shoot in finally illustration. You can make illustration in it, be it 3D looking or 2D looking.
And what about motion graphics? Like, is it kind of used for that type of thing as well?
Yes, I love it for motion graphics. One of the great benefits actually over After Effects. I love After Effects as well. I use After Effects all the time. But one of the great benefits is if you do the kind of work you would typically do in After Effects in 3D, then you have that third dimension. So say you do some layering, you put things in front of each other, and you work as if it's a 2D thing, but then you're like, I wish I could just tilt this thing a little bit, or wish I could just turn the light a little bit. Well, you can.
And can you do things like, like I want to make something explode. Do I have to like physically make it explode, or can I like use Blender to make things? Like I'm thinking motion graphics, like pumped up,
Yeah.
add things going and like things go. Do you have to like make the, or is there like a button? If you get what I mean.
There are templates. There are buttons.
Cool. All right. All right. So if you've got a question from the live stream, throw it into the comments now. We're going to switch to live stream chat questions. I've got one from Sages for you, Robin. Is it worth learning 3D? I really want to learn this skill, but still looking at the viability with the advent of generative AI. Is it still worth it? What's AI in 3D looking like at the moment? Is it just
That's
replacing 3D artists, or what do you think?
Well, good question. Nobody knows, right? It's developing so fast. I would say I would say that it's probably worth learning still. I mean, I'm no computer scientist. I don't want to like try and predict the future here. Everyone's wondering what's going to happen with this. My sense is, as it stands now, uh, the last thing to be replaced is 3D. Generative AI can already do images fairly well. They are starting to be able to do video. They have barely touched 3D. Like it's nowhere close to really doing anything in 3D. So I'd say 3D is uniquely safe in a way. But the question is obviously, do you have to make an image in 3D when you can just generate it?
Is that
And it seems like it will keep being hard to art direct these AIs.
That's the
That's my
thing that
sense of
I'm
it.
finding hard is that I'm doing it and then I'm trying to trick AI into like, give me a bird's eye view of it. Can you be further away from it? And it's, I don't know, something weird happens. You're like, okay, can you, and you're like, oh man, I wish I just knew how to make the thing and then I could do all the angles and,
Yeah,
you're like, because what you really want is this kind of adjustment. Yeah, you're like, oh, squinting your eyes,
exactly.
like, oh, is it that way? Is it this way? Not kind of like wait for 2 minutes for an image to come back and go, all right, why has it got a hand coming out the top? you know,
They're surprisingly hard to direct, and like you'll ask for a tiny adjustment, and it'll change the whole thing.
and you can't go
And
back either, right? Like you're like,
yeah,
go back to that one you had. Oh no, we've gone too far. You're like, remember the one you had before? No. You're like, oh.
yeah, and like there's also the thing of if you want to direct these AI, say they become super great in the future, you can control them using reference imagery. So at the moment, you can, for example, take a picture of yourself in a pose and the AI will copy your pose. But you can also take an image of a 3D space and it'll copy that space. What if you can make all this stuff in 3D and then use AI tools to refine it? I think that's going to be the best combo you can have in the future.
That's it, right? If you can get a rigged model, which is the hard work and quite the laborious of trying to get a character all set up that you can manipulate, because you don't know what it needs to do yet, right? Like the
Yeah.
dialogue's not there, like you don't know, but that 3D would help you, but you still need that fundamentals. Like Illustrator does, generative AI. You're like, great, I still got to do something with it, right? There's still type
Yeah.
and composition and working with customers and clients and trying to back and forth and refinements. If you have to go back and say you can have it a change, but it has to be completely different because the machine keeps making a new thing.
Yeah,
It's not going to work.
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, it was a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. Another question here from Costa. We've got excited for this course. Just started learning Blender, so hoping this will give me a little head start. I think the donut tutorial puts a lot of people off. What's the donut tutorial? You've mentioned it before earlier in our pre-call, and I was like, haha. I nodded along, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what the donut tutorial is. Tell me about the donut
Well,
tutorial.
the infamous donut tutorial. Now, it's the most famous tutorial series for beginners to learn Blender. It's made by Andrew Price from Australia. He made his first edition of it years ago, and ever since he's like done an update of it for every big release of Blender, and it's the place where most people land uh, when they start learning Blender. The commenter here is saying that he's put off by it, and I think I understand that. The thing that kind of put me off a little bit when I first watched it is how specific it gets. It goes into how to make this one very, very specific thing because I think he realized that, as you said, people want a cool thing right at the start. But very quickly, you realize when you're going through it that you don't really get a general sense of how the software works. And people are complaining about this. I still think it's a really great place to start. It gets a lot of people like making something right away. But I think that's probably what the commenter means.
Because that's something like me and like I helped Robin with the outline and kind of class projects, and that was the big thing for us. Was me and Robin were trying to work out a way of building, learning some tools without it being so prescriptive, because we want the course to have portfolio pieces when you get to the end, right? Like something unique that you can use. That was one of the trickiest parts getting started, was trying to work out a way of making things like what's some of the things that we build in the course, yeah.
Yeah, we make a bottle. We make the packaging for that bottle. Make a little character like the guy in the intro. A bunch of little things.
So that feels like, the cool thing about it is everyone gets to customize their own thing. They're building some fundamental skills, right? About, some simple shapes, but adding a lot of their own customization. And that's kind of what I felt was really important for the Blender course, and maybe one of the problems with the Donut one. It's a good question.
Yeah, you kept focusing on that, and I think we really nailed it. I hope that when people take this, they're going to be able to make projects that are wildly different from the ones that we make in the course.
Awesome. And Matthew asks, are there any plans for a Blender advanced course?
You tell me, Dan.
Depends. If we get lots of likes on this video, we'll consider it. Like away, subscribe to the channel.
Do it,
I think we'll
people.
just see how this is received by our. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, do it, people. I want to come back.
We want to get Robin back. What I thought might be a good next step is once enough people are through enough of the course, gives them time to do it, is we get you in for a class project on Bring Your Own Laptop, so that people can flex their new skills into something, So we'll do a fun, creative 3D project. I thought that might be a good next step. And I think, I think an extension of this course, see how it's received and see... people you need to keep hassling me and Robin to make one, and we will make it. What type of projects we do? We just talked about that one. Mark, are there any other? So Mark asks, are there any other Bring Your Own Laptop courses that you would recommend doing before or alongside the Blender course? What do you think, Robin? Like, from what you know of Bring Your Own Laptop, which course would you do before or alongside of? What would be useful?
There are quite a few. I think the most essential one is Photoshop. Like you really should be able to work with images to get them into 3D and to process your images afterwards. So the Photoshop is like a fundamental skill.
Cool.
Second place, I would say, is probably After Effects to post-process what you're making in 3D. There's also, actually, I saw there's an animation course that you have, like a fundamental animation course, where all the principles also apply to 3D animation.
Awesome. That is a really good call out. Yeah, that's a great course. And Mark Oakley, can you place 3D published files into Adobe libraries and maintain the 3D-ness of them? I know you can dump them into Photoshop and get some 3D-ness out of them. Do you know if the CC libraries can contain 3D objects?
I have to admit something here. That is, I don't really use Adobe products much.
That's what we got you in. You're a Blender guy through and through. I'm going to have to fight you now.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't think you can, Mark. I think you can, like, it's really cool. You can dump models straight into Photoshop and they've got some brush tools, and you could do some basic stuff in there. So you could do some modeling in Blender to get the basics, and then do like a lot more post-processing because you can spin 3D models in a PSD and add textures and lay them on. You can see it's limited compared to Blender, but it is maybe a good way of like being like, all right, I want to learn Blender, but there's a lot to learn. I'm going to get to this point and then stuff it into Photoshop and, do some post-processing. But you can keep some of the 3D elements to it, so you can spin it and turn it and play with lighting and those sorts of things. So
cool.
All right. Another one from Costaroli. Do you teach us how to delete the default cube? What does that mean? Smiley face, crying, laughing.
This person has opened Blender before. This is an internal joke to the Blender community. When you open Blender, you get a cube in there just
Yeah.
by default, and
Yeah.
every time you open it, gotta delete that default cube.
Okay, cool. I like the in jokes. Andrew, is there any kind of nudge towards Illustrator with a Blender workflow, or are we learning the design everything in Blender? I'm not sure if Blender can take 2D vectors and turn them into 3D.
You sure can. You sure can. Yeah, you can import SVGs into Blender.
Ooh, you can keep the vector.
Yeah, you can. You can. You have vector tools right inside Blender.
And Victoria, she asks, I think in 2D, will I be able to learn Blender?
Yes, I think everyone can. Because you don't really think in 2D, you live in a 3D world. And I think you're limiting yourself by thinking that you're thinking in 2D. I get it, right? It's scary moving into the third dimension in a software that you've never used. I think anyone can understand it. You have an intuition for 3D. Your whole world is 3D.
And like one of the things though is that it's not just there are, like you mentioned earlier to me, like there is some new tools to learn, right? Like there is a different dimension, so there are new tools, and there's, you'll take them through it, but it is something new to learn. Like I remember switching to video felt like a very big change, but then you get used to it, and then you start working with timelines and other things that weren't in the Photoshop Illustrator world, right? But there are, it's not as daunting as you think, but it is different.
Yes. I would also say to Victoria, look into Blender's grease pencil tools, which are Blender's tools for the 2D looking stuff. You can draw in 3D or in 2D if you want, and then gradually move over into depth, and then finally into full 3D shapes as well.
Cool.
We don't go through that in the course, but that's a little tip.
But if I did the course, I could have a crack at the what do you call them? What kind of pencils?
The grease pencil, which is something we might touch on if there's a future more advanced course. But yeah, no, this course gives you like the fundamentals to understand the whole of the program.
I think that would be like, it wouldn't be advanced, right, in terms of like making castles and orcs. It would be advanced as in like, now we've got the fundamentals. What are the other cool things that designers would like to use? That feels like a better advanced or next step course, right?
Yeah, of course.
And Nick Cantu, the tutorials I've watched are heavily committed to a Blender where we're very Windows specific and missed a lot of info for Mac users. Will this be Mac keyboard shortcut friendly?
Yes, it will. That's something, your team insisted on, Dan. Like, a lot of our people use Mac. Are you going to have Mac shortcuts? Yes, we have Mac shortcuts, and we show you how to use like a Mac mouse that doesn't have a clickable scroll wheel. Everything's made to be understandable and to be doable on a Mac as well.
Awesome. And Vinny asks, is Robin familiar with at all about using Blender and DaVinci Resolve together?
Yes, I use DaVinci Resolve mainly to composite my work. Very common workflow in Blender is what you export from Blender is not actually a video, even though you want to make a video. You export every single frame as a single image, and there are various reasons for that. But then you get those into DaVinci Resolve, and you can start to process them, process the different color spaces that you'd typically use in 3D. If you want, this is kind of advanced stuff. But yes, they play together really, really nicely.
And it's what you use, yeah?
Yes.
You're saying we need a DaVinci Resolve course on bringing our laptop?
Oh, you might then. You might want to enhance DaVinci Resolve course.
I think it's got to be on the next list of courses. Mark Oakley, are the file sizes, what are the file sizes like for the course projects? Am I going to have to free up some space?
Oh, no, they're small. They're surprisingly small. 3D files are really small. Like it's kind of similar to vector files. Like when you're saving Photoshop files, they are enormous, right? But vector files only contain the info for each point, and it's the same with polygons in 3D. They're tiny.
When do they become big? Like is it the output at the end, or are we thinking video? Like, is Mark thinking video files? Like if I export a high definition, 4K or 8K video raw, my poor old laptop's gonna have smoke coming out its ears. Like where
Yeah.
does it get big or not really? Is it not the same?
Yeah, if you're doing professional work in Blender, your exports are going to be huge because not only are you going to be saving single files, those files are also going to be in 16-bit EXR format or maybe 32-bit, which is fantastically huge. And not only that, but it is very common to export many images for just one image because you want to capture separately lighting, reflections, color, all of these aspects of an image go into separate images. We don't do this kind of advanced stuff in the course, but like if you're doing professional work, they go pretty big.
Could you, if you do have a really old, tired PC, like, could you export smaller files or work on stills? Like, does that kind of make it all work, or are they always just big?
Yeah, no, you gotta go pretty far before they start getting that big. Like you can
Okay.
get, yeah. You can do a lot of work with just plain old small JPEG files.
Question from Vlad. Are there any need usage for a UI, UX, or web designer to be able to use Blender? In other words, does this knowledge give any profit when I'm using Figma? What do you think?
That's a good question. I haven't seen a lot of 3D online, but yeah, do you have an answer to that,
I
Dan?
do. Like, I was dealing with another instructor, and one of his main gigs, and he does instructing on the side, was to make 3D models of the product. He does a lot of startups, so the thing doesn't exist yet. So he was making these models, not for film or video, but he was having on the website, and I was just looking at them, and like they did some cool rollovers where some of the features expanded and showed you where you couldn't do it in real life. Like it was defying gravity, like, and there was just a really good way for these Kickstarter startups to show the thing they were trying to make, and he'd
Yeah.
modeled them for pre-sales, and that's kind of what all he did. And I was like, he's like, yeah, I just got in the niche of helping people visualize the thing that doesn't exist. And he was a web designer, UX designer, and that's kind of that was his jam. I was like, oh wow, but the things look so cool because you can light them perfectly and make them like way better than real
Yeah.
life. Like I'm sure when you order the thing, it wouldn't be as cool, but like it got it all look. It was just like, oh man, I want that thing, but it doesn't
You know
exist.
who's great at that is Apple. When they have like these launch pages for the iPhone or whatnot, you have like the image of the iPhone, and as you scroll, it kind of tilts, stuff like this,
Mm.
and that's the kind of stuff that is made in 3D.
And it's kind of like one of those things, especially when there's a tough job market, like anything you can do. If you don't really want to do Blender, I wouldn't go and do, if you're not really interested in it, I wouldn't go do it as an extra skill. But like for me, I'm like, oh well, if I'm looking for a job or I want to keep my skills or keep my job, I want to learn Blender anyway. Like this seems like a really good excuse to learn something cool. It feels like something that is a bonus for the CV, especially if you get your certificate and your badges, but it's not as tightly woven into like say more traditional graphic design, but there
No,
you go.
no, it's not. It's not. But you do get quite far with just the basic knowledge. I usually tell people like I wish more people knew just the very basics of Photoshop or a similar program because it's made such a big difference in my life. I just use it all the time just for a bunch of little small things. And when you know 3D, it becomes kind of similar. Like you just start using it for a bunch of small things and you just need the basic knowledge to do that.
And it feels like there is a 3D, like for web design, there is 3D in kind of, there's like I'm not sure, it's JavaScript or CSS, but like what I've found is I know a different 3D tools is that once you've learnt one, you've kind of learnt them all. Not the same, but like, I don't know. Do you find that? Like, I don't know as many as, I haven't experienced many as you, but like, I feel like if you gave me another tool like Maya, it's going to be different, but it's, like the fundamentals of like the extra Z axis and stuff. Do you find that the same across them?
Yeah. No, once you know one of them, you can really easily pick up another one. But obviously, they have different specializations. You have the ones that are made just for painting on your model, stuff that are made just for making explosions and stuff. But just learning like the general tool, you can transfer that super easily into the other ones.
Cool. Another question. Tobacon? I probably wrecked that. He says, hello from Germany. How long will the course be? And he asks for the advanced course as well. Straight into the advanced course. I know how long it is. Do you know?
I
It's
think
a test.
I've been looking at this timeline for a while now. I think it's probably 4 hours in total. Am I close?
Nope, 9 hours.
God damn it.
You have a bit of distortion. You're the one who recorded it. We're
Yeah,
the one who did the kind
I
of
do.
final
I
editing.
do.
So
Yeah.
it's if you've done a bring your laptop course, it's the same sort of one. A good bit like it's essentials, but with a great bit of depth. Like if you've done a bring your laptop course, essentials doesn't really mean essential. It means you can walk off pretty confident. It's not like the basics. It is the stuff that you're gonna need to do stuff. So yeah, it's 9 hours, 4 hours.
I don't say it like it's a bad thing. You get to spend 9 hours with me.
Get to hang out with Robin for 9 hours
Yeah.
in his mini version of him. Um, uh, we'll do, what do we got? Let's do a couple more. Taylor, you want to highlight, I'll do this one. You want to highlight one more that seems the most interesting from the chat. Monacella, do you need to know how to draw to use Blender? As I have zero talent when it comes to drawing.
I have zero talent when it comes to drawing too.
Excellent. So no drawing required.
No.
All right. Cool. All right. Taylor hasn't picked one yet, so I'm going to just do this next one from Mustafa. I'm a brand identity designer and I want to learn Blender 3D to create unique 3D mockups, packages, bottles, stage. He's reading the list from the course outline. You should do this course. Very few
Yeah.
courses are focused on this. Is this course one of them? Packages,
Yes.
bottles, and stages.
I mean, that's what we do. That's
That's what we do.
that's most of the projects in the course.
Mustafa,
This
that's
course,
kind
like,
of, I helped, we bring a laptop, spent ages trying to find Robin because it's hard to find a Blender expert who's also from the design industry. So Robin is uniquely qualified to teach this course. And I also helped because I'm like, I want to make a course. I want Blender laptop to have a course that I want to do stuff in. So bottles, packaging, lighting, staging. Oh, that's perfect. So that's it's definitely in there, Mustafa. All right, last question. Another one from Casaroli. She or he. Do you go into detail about geometry and shading nodes? A lot of tutorials just chuck loads in without explaining the thought process behind it, which makes it harder when doing your own projects.
I don't go in. We don't even touch on geometry nodes. That's not for this course. I consider that more of an advanced thing for everyone who's curious. Geometry nodes is a way of making your models procedurally. So you kind of build it with math. You
I'm
say,
glad this is not in the course because
yeah,
I'm
right,
already
exactly.
like, all right, you've lost me.
Dude, I had to learn so much like 3D trigonometry and vector math and stuff for this. But yeah, so that's not in there. That's too scary for people. Shader
I think that's
nodes,
a
that's
positive for
how.
the course.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that was a good cut. Shader nodes, that's how you make surfaces. So this person is asking for how you can set up all the little details to say, oh, I want a brick that's this big and I want it to be this bumpy and stuff like that. We don't do a lot of it. I think the most important part for designers is knowing how to make things that look realistic. So I go over the what you need to know to make super realistic materials. And also in the process, we're going to look at different shading parameters, just how to define exactly the shading that you want. So if you want it glossy or matte, that kind of stuff.
You're speaking my language, Robin.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't care if it actually is like will survive in the real world. I just want it to look like it will. Awesome. Oh, well, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Robin Rudd. And thank you for all your time and effort you put into the course on Bring Your Own Laptop, 3D Blender Essentials. I really appreciate your work, and I know everyone's going to love the course.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. Like, I know this is like your baby. You have all the courses, and now you're like giving it over and giving me a space on your platform. And I'm just super excited to see where this goes.
Cool. I think people are going to love it. If you are ready to, if you're not a bringyonlaptop.com subscriber, there'll be a link in the description. There is a discount there, and there is a link to download Blender as well. It's free magically. Thank you, Robin Rudd. That is going to be the end of the live stream. Goodbye, everybody in the live stream.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Robin. End. Got to find the end button. Ready? 3, 2, 1, finish.
Bye. Goodbye.
I got to click it twice. Damn it.
Oh, no.